Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. This is our measureQuick 101 series, and it's a basic overview to try and give you a variety of things that measureQuick can do and what it does do and how it can help you, your business, your technicians on a wide range from not just doing diagnostics in the field, but actually a lot of stuff you can do in the background with Virtuoso or connecting it to other apps, including some CRM. So there's no way I could probably go through everything that measureQuick can do in this time frame that we have, but we're going to try and put most of it into the first hour so you kind of get a good idea of an overview. We'll also interject a live demo, and you can see the actual app live with some other accessories on the side. And then we at the end, it's really the last 30 minutes more of a Q&A. So if you're looking to figure out how much time to allocate, then we'll probably focus first of it mostly in the first hour. And then you're free to move on. And if anybody needs a certificate of attendance, just reach out to us and we can provide that for you. So my name is Joe Medosh. I'm a client success manager for measureQuick. I have been here a little over a year or so. I've known Jim for probably 10 plus years and worked a variety of ways in the industry. But I'm not a technician. I'm somebody who helps technicians do better in the field. So that's really my goal. So if you have a lot of technical issues that are beyond the scope of me or Ben, who's in the background, we will keep track of those and have somebody get back to you. But in general, please throw out any of your questions or comments or information in our chat area in the Q&A. So whatever you got, we look forward to it. In fact, why don't you start us off by telling us where are you and what's your weather like? Kind of introduce yourself in the Q&A. It works as a chat and a Q&A. So I want to introduce my side man here, Ben. Why don't you introduce yourself, Ben, and tell us what your role is with that real quick.
Sure. So my name is Ben Reed. I am up in Canada in Halifax, and I'm helping Jim, Joe, Val, and the gang on a whole bunch of different things, mostly on kind of infrastructure implementation. But I have a background in working with Haven on indoor air quality products.
Right, thanks. Yeah, we are growing rapidly, as many of your companies are. So we've also expanded the kind of people we want to have support measureQuick. So Ben is a major asset for us and the things we're trying to accomplish. And if anybody's seen the website before and after, that's Ben. So if you got any feedback on what we can do to make that clear, we appreciate any feedback you got. So let's go ahead and dig in into see some of the things that we're going to have talk about today. So make sure we're on the right page. Okay, there we go. So these are the overview. This is actually in the information that was sent out to you. So we will cover these directly and indirectly as we go. So not in this order, though. That was the order that actually was listed. So to make sure you're familiar with it. So I usually don't read the slides unless there's something on the slide that's important to read. So hopefully you're able to digest that, or there's nothing here that's vital that you have to keep track of. So let's start with our first poll. So Ben's going to post a poll for you, and let's see where you're at in your measureQuick journey. So you're welcome to chat in if there's something doesn't fit you in the poll in our Q&A. We look forward to seeing what you guys are talking about or want to have. To me, a successful webinar is when I have people chatting in the background that are providing information about themselves, how they're using measureQuick, what are they doing. So anything that you could share with us or the group, that'd be great.
I'm just waiting for one more person to finish the poll, and then I can publish the results.
Great. That was quick. Yeah, those are things we don't want to dwell on. So we're happy that you guys are quick to respond to that. Okay, whoever's holding out, maybe they're not at their computer. So we'll do them a 3, 2, 1. Let's see what we got.
All right. I don't know if you can display it on your screen, but looks like most people here are just curious. We've got a couple that have just signed up, a couple that have already unlocked Premier services, and then a few that have are just in the process of rediscovering measureQuick.
Yes, it looks like it's pretty diverse, about approximately 25% of each. So that was good. I cannot display them because I'm using my whole screen for the slide deck. So we're trying to overcome some of the challenges with presenting webinars with polls and that. So thank you for those who responded. So I'm gonna move quickly into the concept as to why we're highly motivated to make measureQuick something that actually is very not just helpful for you and your business and your company, but also for the industry. There have been studies after studies after studies. In fact, as far as I could go back to 1995, there have been multiple studies about airflow and refrigerant charge, and how many systems are installed incorrectly or performing not to their capacity, right? So you can see in the upper right here, at least one fault in 70 to 90% of homes. That's a lot. If you thought about all the cars that were actually on the road and thought about that, if they all had, one significant fault for 70 to 90% of cars, you'd probably think back to the 80s if you were alive then, that's when we had lots of issues with automobiles, and the industry corrected it. So I think that our industry is now realizing that we cannot let these things go, especially with all of the funding that's out there from utilities and other programs to try and make sure these are not just functioning well, but providing, not just comfort, but also a reduction in energy. So there is a link in here. All of these slides are already been distributed to you guys, so you can see them and you can click on the link and actually download some of these. There's a lot of studies now about smart tools and what they are and how they can help you. But I focus on, it's not the tool, it's actually the smart app or the intelligent app that's giving you solid information. So you can use a lot of these tools with their own basic app and it tells you some basic information. But do you really know what that information is? And that's the key as to what measureQuick actually provides. So an example here is that I have a couple of testo probes that are giving me my indoor and outdoor temperature. They're not much different than these analog temperature gauges next to it. They're just giving me temperatures. Now, measureQuick is also giving me the same temperatures, but it's also telling me what's my calculated target, and am I in that target, and what's my allowable range. That's the significance of what measureQuick is doing for you and your technicians. It's not just giving you information, it's telling you what the information means. We're going to come back to this slide in a little bit. But the concept here is that I actually understand that these are good readings. Is 68 a good number compared to 63? What's my temperature split? Is that a good split? So this is one of the things that helps good technicians become great technicians, because the temperature split's kind of easy. But there's a lot of things here. In fact, everything on our app is actually giving you these concepts of current value, calculated targets, and allowable range. So this is something that is the main strength of what measureQuick is providing. So I'll kind of give a measureQuick overview briefly that we find hundreds of faults. In fact, we're constantly adding faults that technicians are sending into us saying, hey, these are some of my measurements, or I'm finding these faults. How can measureQuick help me figure this out? So there's a lot of things that we do here. I'll demonstrate basically what's the 9 probes and how dynamic they are in terms of things that are happening. And I'll go through a lot of the stuff and types of report that we generate and sharing live information with folks. So the reality is this is actually one of the most advanced apps that's out there in our entire industry for a lot of things that we do. I don't think there's anything like this for others that are competing, like plumbers or electricians. They don't have this type of challenges or something that's supporting them in the same manner. So measureQuick is a calculator for the HVAC industry. So if I were to give you a bunch of numbers and have you add them up, would be great. But the reality is our industry is dynamic. Numbers are changing as you go. And you could imagine that these could be some of the numbers that I'd be getting from the 9 probes that are required, right? So it would be one thing to try and add them up, but another thing to add them up is they're constantly changing. So measureQuick is doing that. Those are not the real numbers that I'm getting from my probes, and those are the 9 probes that are required. But this is kind of what it looks like in measureQuick. So you can imagine that all these numbers were constantly changing in the background. And here's some of my outdoor measurements. There's actually 2 pages. There's another set of outdoor readings. And some of these are also calculated values. They're not just reading the probes. They're actually giving you the information as to what is between the 2 of them, and what are my temperature splits and pressures. And there's also a variety of other indoor measurements. And then we're also calculating some of the performance from latent load and total BTUs, and even your sear and ear and your fan efficacy. That's all built in it. So if you want to see these all together, this is the series of outdoor readings that you're getting, your indoor readings, and your performance data. And you can imagine if all of these numbers on the right side were slightly fluctuating like they were on the left side, you can see how dynamic it would be and almost impossible for any technician to try to put together some of these things. Many technicians are focused on superheat and subcooling, but there's a lot more dynamic issues that are happening between airflow, static pressure, temperature split. All those things are slightly changing even when the system is stable. That's the strength of measureQuick. measureQuick is calculating all these things in the background and giving you information, whether it's a fault or not, or a minor fault, or and recommendations about what to do. And I can click on any one of these icons. They look like nice gauges, but they're all individual buttons in the app that tell you what's my current readings, what's my threshold that it should be, and am I meeting those? So some people aren't aware that we actually are two things in one. So we're two parts, right? You have the application that many people are familiar with. You're downloaded that. You probably have it on one of your devices, right? But there's also a great part of measureQuick that's in the background. Okay, it's Virtuoso and it's our backend portal. This is how you set up your company, some live data streamings, projects, a variety of stuff. I got another slide later about Virtuoso, but I just want to remind people that this is what you get when you're using measureQuick to its fullest, that it isn't just an app helping you in the field. It is actually supporting your company with adding technicians, seeing what they're doing. If you don't have a CRM, we can actually issue jobs out to an individual and one of your technicians so they can spend less time trying to enter basic information about the system or the client. So if you have a CRM, that's great. That information can get ported over about the consumer, the occupants. So if not, then we have Virtuoso, which has a lot of great features, including streaming and seeing jobs that are not just in progress, but past, regenerating reports. It's a pretty dynamic system that you're getting for the little investment that we actually have. There's no additional cost for the Virtuoso. It comes with the fact that you have an account. So it's free, it's already included. The only thing you're paying for, which we'll go through, is to use the app on the actual job based upon the system that you're actually evaluating. That's the only time we charge anybody. There's no fee for the company, there's no fee for individual technicians. The only time we charge you is when you want to use it for the system that you're actually evaluating. This is just a quick sample of some of the stuff that we do. So we do heat pumps and gas furnaces, refrigeration, and of course, air conditioning. So you can see every screen is dynamic in terms of the information that we're getting about that system. Some are very complicated. The AC system is probably the easiest one to integrate with your company. Gas furnaces themselves are very complicated, and we try to simplify that, but make sure that you're actually doing the safest evaluation you can. So many people do a new install and they evaluate the furnace, if they install a furnace at the same time they do an AC year round. So we're actually able to provide that in one stop right there, one app, and give people that information. So some of the stuff we talked about were how to what to start a job and what kind of workflow. So this is the basic overview of the cooling test that we have. These are the top two that are out there for the installation versus the service. And we are right now working on newer workflows to try to guide the technician through whether they're inside or outside. So we are making some improvements on there. We'd love your feedback as you start to use our existing workflows or have suggestions about the new ones. If you want to learn more, you can reach out to myself at Joe at measureQuick. And one of the things that happens after you've done a really good install is you're able to go back and do a non-invasive AC heat pump. Non-invasive means you're not going to actually tap the system with the pressure probes on the refrigerant. You're just going to be able to use the clamp-on probes and actually determine what is the system actually operating compared to the benchmark that we made. So when you do a great install, we benchmark it. The benchmark is saved with that job. I go back to that job and I can actually just do a non-invasive test. So if you're looking for a great way of doing maintenance or follow up on that system, whether it's a low end tech or a high end tech, they can all just do non-invasive and confirm that it's operating within the benchmarks that were set for the installation. If you're doing a service call and things are working well, you can also benchmark it at the same time. And now you're coming back and you're doing a non-invasive test. We do have stuff with multi-stage and multi-circuit heat pumps. I'm not going to go to those details. You may notice that mini split and multi-split ducted stuff has all become beta. The issue is that the kind of information that we need does not come directly or easily from the manufacturer. They don't know. We work closely with Daikin and Mitsubishi and all those who are making these great systems. Pardon me. But the fact that the metering device is outside, everything is completely different. It's a whole new world that we don't really know what their vapor line or suction line or other pressures or temperatures should be, and they don't either. So we are trying to resolve this as a process for third-party verification. But currently, you can use it, but we've moved it to a beta because there can be challenges on what your results may be. We did add geothermal cooling, all right, which is using ground source systems. And it isn't beta because it's still new. And if you are doing these kind of systems, again, please give it a try and give us feedback on how we can make that better. We also do a variety of stuff on a heating test or furnace test. So it's either a boiler or a furnace. We can do heat pump testing. So when you may have a heat pump, then you're using it in a cooling mode, and in the winter you're using it as a heating system. That's a completely different test and requires an additional probe. So all of these things are the basic workflows that we have right now. And we are constantly improving these into either tweaking them individually or adding new ones to come. So some people asked about what is the information that's required to profile a system. And it's very basic. It's really what's on the data plate. Usually for the furnace, it's on the inside. For the AC, it's outside, with the exception of total static. But in general, a lot of the stuff is staring at you when you're looking at the data plate. And we encourage you to take a picture of it. And notice on the left side here, it says equipment models and serial numbers. When you take a photo here in this section of measureQuick, it is actually keeping that picture with this job forever. So if you come back 2 months, the picture of your data plates are in there. If you come back 2 years from now, those are in there. So for those of you that are long-term customers, when you do an install, you may come back 10 years later as your regular maintenance and find out that the data plate has been either scratched up by the dog or just faded in the sun. But you now have access it, and not just access it when you go to the job, but it's also available on the back end in Virtuoso. So there's a lot of great features that we're constantly updating to make sure that you have the right information, your technicians have the right information when they go out. But you can see here that we're looking for basic information that comes off the nameplate, the tonnage, the refrigerant, and soon it'll be refrigerant will be something you need to keep track of, because the regular 410A is slowly going to be fading out to a variety of refrigerants depending on your system that you're working with or manufacturer. So we default to the tonnage based upon where you're at. We know your location, and that's how we kind of determine what is your nominal airflow. The Sears information that comes off that, what type of metering device you have is a major component as to how well your system is operating, to determine if you're actually in compliance and working the way the manufacturer intended. There's a variety of those stuff here. We default to superheat and subcooling to 10. Some manufacturers give you the information for superheat, maybe 12. So whatever that is, it's there. We also default to static pressure of 0.5. And you now need to pay attention to that, because I know that Bosch and others are actually 0.8. So that actually would show you, if you're at 0.8, that would actually show up as a major defect or a fault in our system in terms of the issues you're having. So you want to make sure you're paying attention. The entire process is based upon what is entered right here. If you enter everything correctly, then we're able to assess your system. If you have something that's not entered correctly, then clearly we can't tell you that you're operating on the correct refrigerant or the right SEER or metering device. Any of those things are not entered correctly, then you're not going to be able to get the right results, or you're going to have strange information showing up as defects. Proper probe placement, which we'll come to in a second, and proper profiling are the keys to success in measureQuick. It doesn't take long to do it, but you want to make sure you do. Once you've entered all this information, it is saved, and it's saved in measureQuick and Virtuoso, meaning when you come back to go to this job again, it's already here. You don't have to enter it every time. I now know exactly the make, model, serial number, the tonnage, the SEER, everything about this system is now saved, so that the next technician doesn't have to do that. If you do the install, again, it's already done. All this information is here, and everybody who comes back to do maintenance or service has already got that. You just reduce a few minutes of everybody's time from here on in the future. Also keep track of the system and where it is and what you may call it. So here it's just called make, model, serial, but your condenser may be, a carrier, and the number and serial numbers we know are all long and convoluted, but it actually shows up here on our map. So I can see that. You can actually move the pins to exactly where the system is located, right? So that if you have multiple systems, I can see where they're at and they can be placed right next to each other. I can also change the name at the top to second floor make, model, serial number, second floor carrier, blah, blah, blah information. This is super helpful, not just for a home that may have one or two units, but if you're doing a multifamily, or if you're doing an apartment complex, or you're doing something where these are all on the roof or they're scattered around the perimeter of the property, this makes accessing these in the future a whole lot easier, because I know exactly what the unit is based on its make, model, serial number, and that you've identified what floor or what area it's connected to. We work with a lot of different manufacturers, different probes. This is just a small taste of what they are and who they are. So we'll kind of go through a few of these in general, but you can intermix. So you may have some field piece and some testo, and we work with both. Subco is makes the electrical meter. And we now work with 2 combustion analyzers, AccuTools, and Sourman has now been added to our list of the devices we work with. There may be others. You can find them on our website as more information that's out there. If you've got something, you're like, hey, I got this. So some people have the field piece dual channel manometer, and it would be great if it worked, but it's not Bluetooth. So it cannot communicate with us. So and don't assume that just because something is Bluetooth that it instantly integrates with measureQuick. We are very specific about who we work with. We want to know that their system is, their apps and their probes are stable. They're providing accurate information, and then we figure out a way to integrate them into our system. So don't assume that we work with it just because it's a Bluetooth system.
Joe, we had a question a couple minutes ago of
Yeah.
can other photos be taken or stored as well?
Other photos. So I'll go through kind of the photo section, but in general, you can take as many photos as you want once you've opened up Premier Services, and we'll talk about what that means. Premier Services is you've unlocked the job for 5 qubits or $5. You can take as many photos as you want, and they are all not just included in that job in that report, but they're also saved on the back end to Virtuoso and into the CRM that you're integrated, either Service Titan or House Call Pro. Those are already integrated. If that answers the question. Great, thanks. So here's your required probes, and you can also go to TrueTech Tools. I have the link in the bottom here to get that. Some people have a smaller kit and realize that they didn't get the full kit, so there are links to go through and add on to what you have. You may have had the basic kit, which is missing an additional hygrometer and additional clamp if you need to do that. So some of them don't. The basic kit also doesn't have the manometer. So these are the 9. We live and die by these 9 probes. And what I mean by that is that you don't need to have electrical as part of your vitals. Oops, I clicked out. What I do need is the 9 probes you see in the picture here. So the kit actually comes with an extra clamp because we actually can use that if you're doing heat pumps in the heating mode, right? Or you can use it to get additional information. But these are the ones that are required in order to get your vital score, to do any kind of benchmarking or streaming. So if you don't have all of these on, connected, and on a system that's operating, because we can tell if the system is actually operating, then you won't be able to get a vital score or do benchmarking or streaming. There'll be a pop-up saying missing probes are required for this action. So it's crucial that you have all 9 and they're actually operating and reading well. So that's the fundamentals of how measureQuick is functioning. You can do electrical. It's great that you have that information, but again, it's not required to do a vitals or benchmarking or streaming. The information is incredibly valuable, and I don't want to underestimate the value of the electrical, but again, it's not a requirement. I'm going to go through quickly about your probe placement and where all of these probes go. Okay, so the return air is should be at the return grill closest to the air handler. I don't recommend it in the basement because the basement has got some basic different temperatures that are not representing upstairs. If you've got a return in every single room and they're struggling to function, then you can actually go back to the system. We try not to use the actual appliance or the system to test everything, even though that's a common thing that everybody does in the industry, but you're not getting good air mixing and you're not determining how well the system is operating. I don't know if there's other conditions that are not coming back or my temperature split is not the best. So my supply air has to be inside the supply grill nearest to the air handler, not on the face. If it's on the face, it actually has air that's entrainment that's right around the face itself, and I'm not giving me good readings. So this is a crucial part of making sure that you're getting good readings. Again, fundamentals are great probe placement and a good profile will determine everything about your system and allow MeasureQuick to provide you with great information. Total external static is something you could do this with a manometer from Testo that actually would be one manometer that has 2 ports on it instead of having 2 individual ones. And by the way, I do have field piece throughout this. It's just a simple illustration, but Testo works fine on all the applications you see here. I could replace out any of the probes with Testo probes. They work well, or you can mix and match. So you could have a field piece on the outside or some of your temperatures, and you could use the Testo manometer here, the total external static. So you can, again, mix or match and have a variety of information. But this is crucial, and depending on where the furnace or air handler is a common mistake in the industry. I actually train a lot of contractors who've been in the industry for years, and don't know where to place their probes for total external static. So we have a lot of training that's online and live training. So anything there that is you're looking for more information about that. And these illustrations come exactly from our quick guide. So if you use our quick guide, it's just trying to tell you where to place the probes if you have a furnace or an air handler. Pardon me. Let's move outside. So outside, inside we had 4 probes. Outside we have 5 probes. Okay, and they're pretty straightforward in terms of the suction line and liquid line. There's a pressure and a temperature for each side, and then we also have an outdoor temperature. This actually is crucial for the type of readings that we're getting. Indoor temperature and outdoor temperature are major comparisons or determine the conditions that are actually how the system is operating. So you have again, that's one of the probes that most people are missing is the outdoor air temperature. Clarifying, you cannot just enter the outdoor temperature and get vital score, benchmarking, or anything else. You must have all 9 probes connected and reading in order to do all of the major benefits that you're getting from a measureQuick. This is the slide. Sorry, the guy's a little fuzzy. So this is the key to it. I'll do the story quickly. That you go see your doctor and you have a temperature of 106. Not doing well. He's like, hey, I'm glad you came in. I'll see you in about 6 months. And you leave and you end up in the hospital or you die days later. And people are like, wait, what happened? He just went to the doctor. And we go back and look at the charts and the information. And the doctor says, wow, that was 106. I didn't know that was high. And the reality is we know that's high. Those are just common things that we know as, being human beings, or especially if you're a parent, you know what high temperature is. It's the same in our industry, that if you don't know what your design temperatures are or what your established reading should be, then it doesn't matter. It goes back to that early slide that I could have temperatures and temperature splits, but if I don't know exactly what they should be, then you're missing out on really what your technicians are doing. So everything has a target, and any one of these buttons, any one of these displays, these gauges, they all provide you with this basic information as to what are you reading and what should it be. And this is the fundamental process that allows good technicians to become great technicians and newer technicians to understand what's happening in the system, because they're able to access that and learn this type of information. So all of our diagnostics are accessed in the workflow and actually on the gauge screen. There's an upper right corner. It's got a flag. Hopefully your flag is green and you have no issues. But you can see here, in fact, we usually hide the minor faults because we're focused on the major potential faults. And we use the word potential because a lot of things that your probes are reading require you to do a visual assessment and inspection, and you're taking pictures of that. So that is the key. That it's not, you can't say, oh, I probably could send out, some drone to do this kind of stuff, or some, whatever. The reality is, no, you need a human being to actually not just place the probes well, but to take a look at what's happening. So your system maybe have charge issues, but it may be dirty. And those are the kind of things that you need a real person to actually look at. So if I do a great visual assessment when I'm placing my probes and assessing the system, I can now determine what are my diagnostics, and it may be overcharged or it may be dirty. So that's what we're trying to do, and give you information. I opened up the minor faults because you can see them on the same page, but like I said, they're usually hidden. And the reason is it can be kind of overwhelming for some technicians. If you focus on the major faults, you can get your system down to a high 90s or 100, depending on the age, with its score, right? But you can see that on the upper right there, you can see a system may be overcharged with refrigerant, and there's 3 issues that come from your minor faults that make up a major fault. This is the strength of measureQuick. They're able to take some things that may be an indication and actually collect them together and be like, you know what, there may be a restriction in the liquid line. This is a new one we've added, and many people have been thrilled that we've been able to diagnose stuff like this for them, because we're able to take 2 of your minor faults and make them into something that actually is a major issue. And you can see there's this grid that people have lived and died by on the left side here. These are things that, well, if you have this issue, is it normal, suction pressure, liquid pressure, superheat? All these things are integrated. You don't need to go to a chart and try and figure out what's high or low. We're doing that for you, not just automatically, but dynamically. You can imagine that these systems are changing. The sun may suddenly come out and shine on your system, and a lot of your temperatures are changing. Or somebody inside changed the thermostat, and your whole system just altered in terms of its temperature. So we are dynamically determining what's going on.
Joe,
Again, there's kind of, oh yeah, yeah.
So we got a couple questions here.
Sure.
So the first one by Diego is where to locate the discharge suction line in one of your slides where you're showing the 10 probes.
Sure. So the discharge line, the discharge probe is on the discharge line. The challenge for that is that you need to take off the cover or sometimes pull the unit apart, and then it goes within a few inches of where the discharge line is. Usually it's not that long, and that's where it's placed. So we don't require it unless you have a heat pump where you have to have that system, and then everything actually gets rerouted from the liquid line or the suction line becomes a vapor line. So it's a little more complicated as a heating system, but it goes on the discharge line, but it's not usually accessible without taking off the cover to get to it, if that helped.
Another
Any other
question.
questions? Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
another question from Todd, which is, shouldn't you also have a temp clamp on the compressor discharge line?
That's where so that's the discharge line. So it's the same as what we talked about a second ago, that it's optional for my regular, um, well, there's a suction line and a liquid line clamps that are required. After that, the discharge line is your additional information. If you use it, we take that information and it's used with the calculations. We don't need it to do an AC system. You do need it to do a heat pump system in heating mode. That's the clarification.
And one last question from Diego, which is that in one of the pictures, the compressor had 3 temperature line probes. Is that only applicable for commercial units?
No, that was actually showing that we had the discharge line connected. Very
All
savvy
related.
people. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's savvy of you to grab that information. So that's actually showing all the probes that could provide information, and that could have been being used in a heat pump mode is also the solution there. But in general, the 9 you need are required for an AC system. And if we go to a heat pump or doing heating mode, then the discharge line is required. And you can still use it in your cooling mode. It's providing additional information that's just getting calculated in the background, but it's not a requirement. Hopefully that helped the discharge line questions. All right, so back here showing the same information I had about diagnostics. You also may have stability issues, which is in the upper corner. It's just an indication that the system is not stable, but you can actually clear that and actually see what my diagnostics are. And this is an indication of the type of way we're flagging the system. You're hoping always for the green checker flag, but there may be other times you get the caution triangle and other issues that are there. And you can click on any one of these and actually get explanations as to what they are. It's very helpful to make sure we're providing that information. So here's my diagnostics. I can click on these and it's giving me not just the information, but usually there's also some information about potential repairs that go along with that or recommendations that the technician should follow or be checking visually or dynamically as to what's happening. So we really try to make sure that any technician in the field has got as much support information as that we have or that other technicians are providing for us to help do that. So usually when I do a training, I tell people you want to make sure that you're reading, that you find your diagnostics and read what measureQuick is giving you before you call in or do some type of support process, because you may find that the information we provided was what you needed in order to do your diagnostics. And you can generate reports. Again, all these are features that are part of the Premier services where you've actually opened up and paid for the process, which allows you to do the reports, get a vital score, do benchmarking and stream your features. There's a lot of things in there, and we'll talk about the price structure in a section. But in general, these reports are really dynamic, and lots of people feel that their technicians are really empowered to talk to a client about that. The top 3 are what you get when you do your just basic system vital score and what that is. And that's great that you got an A and you can talk to your clients about how well their system is operating. And we also break it down as to if you don't have an A, what are those issues? Because age can sometimes be a problem for a system that's even more than 5 years old. We start to do some subtraction for the age. And by the time it's 20 years old, you've lost at least 20 points, probably closer to 15 years. And we also keep track of where you're at and how often where you're at, your system is getting used. So there's a different assessment in the south versus the north. And then on the last part of that, on the upper right, is the I call it the disclosures to where we get our information from. We're not just making this stuff up. Jim's incredibly knowledgeable, but he doesn't want to be the person responsible for why your score was -7 versus it should have been a -2. We really follow the industry on what these are. And if you do the full measureQuick report, then you're getting the diagnostics in the bottom as to what were all of my readings that came from the probe. So if you want to find out if your technicians are using their probes. I can actually see that on my reports, and we now have trend indicators as to whether or not it was where it was supposed to be or trending up or down. We have a variety of corrective actions and a whole set of pictures that are all included in this. These reports are saved in Virtuoso when you generate them. They can also be shared with your homeowner right there. Either mine just show them your tablet, but I can send them an email and they can see this. That's very valuable sometimes when somebody's not home and you need to share that with somebody to make decisions. And if you have Service Titan and House Call Pro, this is saved as a PDF attachment in that account, as well as all the pictures were uploaded to the Service Titan and measureQuick account.
Joe, we've got a raised hand and a question. So I'm going to, for the raised hand, I'm going to allow them to talk, if that's all right.
Sounds great.
All right. So Ephraim, you should be able to have audio access now. And while he's sorting that, maybe I'll go through there's a question here. So
Sure.
It says that, and this probably was on the previous page, that even though the superheat is out of range on kind of the report that you were showing, the system is still scored A+. Why is that?
That may be a graphic error that used for display. So I apologize for that. So I'll try and fix that on the slide deck. So yes, you guys are very attentive to the details that I have here. So well done.
And Ephraim, if you wanted to unmute your microphone, you should be able to speak right now if you have a question.
And if not, you can just use the chat. Yeah, just go give them more information in the question Q&A.
Okay, well, maybe I'll leave him with that capability for the next little bit, and you can just continue.
All right, moving on.
Figures it out.
So this is the one page that's showing all of our readings from the probes, and this is a great internal document to have. People ask you, well, aren't you saving all this information? Well, we do not save every single measurement in our Virtuoso. We're saving. I think are they coming? All right, so we're not saving every single measurement, but we are saving the conditions that are happening as how well you're operating. But this is one way to document what were the readings at that time. And you can see that I can tell exactly where they came from, calculated, or what probe, and it all breaks down. You can see there's also performance calculations and equipment ID and geolocation. All that is included in these reports, which most people that your clients find this to be something that nobody else is providing and really puts you above all in terms of what kind of information you're providing and transparency. And usually if you're first on site, you're the last on site. If you're the last on site, then you're clearly getting the job. Okay, we've got a poll.
Okay, quick question. You had on one of the minor faults as approach is too low. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna do a demo in a second. Whenever I train, I always talk about approach. So approach is how close the liquid line is to the outdoor temperature, because the liquid line is being controlled by the outdoor temperature. That's what determines that. So when it should never be below the outdoor temperature. So it's usually above it. So if you're too close to that, then that's one of the conditions that shows up. So approach is, some people don't understand how we define approach, but that's really the condition, is the liquid line compared to the outdoor temperature.
And so the word approach would be what you want it to be. That would be the baseline. When you say the word approach, what do you mean by that?
So yeah, the approach is the temperature of the liquid line compared to the outdoor temperature. So that's the definition for us as approach, right? When I do my demo, I'll bring up approach and you can see how you can read what we have in the app to do that. So if for some reason your approach is above the outdoor temperature, then there's a problem, either potentially a probe problem or a condition in the system where your refrigerant line is now not providing correct information.
So the approach is only on the liquid line.
It's compared to the liquid line compared to the outdoor temperature is the definition of how we calculate the approach.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Sweet. So the poll's open right now, Joe, and we have a couple other questions. Adam asks, can report outputs be private labeled?
Yeah, you're right. They not private labeled because measureQuick is still on the actual PDF, but your logo and your technician's information is on a cover page, as well as anywhere where there's a area for a logo, that's your company logo, which you put into Virtuoso. So you can have it branded with your information and your technician's information, but we do not allow you to exclude the fact that it's a measureQuick report. Several people ask that, and we just don't do white label or blind branding as part of our process.
All right, we need 2 more people to answer that poll. And as a follow-up, Adam was just wondering what other types of customizations are available for those report outputs.
Yeah, remind me about that when I do my demo. I'll show you where those are, and basically you can determine how many, what pages are included. There's different types of reports, and I can also determine how many pictures are in those reports and a variety of indicators that are on that report. So there is some customization that can happen. And many things that we'll also do will be also company-wide options that you can actually do. So,
All right.
all right.
We got everybody voted this time.
Great. So you've got two levels there. Can you explain what you got there? measureQuick. It's hard for me to read the poll. Oh, you got 3. You got 40%.
Yeah, so basically it's either 26% my company uses measureQuick, so kind of just means that it's either standard practice or something that is regularly practiced. The second one is that I'm a technician and I use measureQuick in the company, so maybe the company hasn't adopted it. And then another one for I work in the industry, but maybe not a part of an HVAC company that uses measureQuick, so that's 20%. An educator using it in a classroom, that's 1 person, and then but 40% is that neither themselves nor the organization use measureQuick.
And just for those of you that are new to navigating this webinar display, pardon me, on the left side, you can see who are attendees, the questions that are being asked, and the polls. So you can click on the polls at any time and kind of see them, or if you want to change your answer, or what's actually being put out there. So you actually have access to see those and even change your answer if you want.
We've got another question from Todd, which is, what reports can you see without buying qubits?
We used to have a basic, but we've now eliminated those reports from basic, as far as I understand it. Everything is based upon, the challenge was that people were not having all the required information and generating reports, and we were thought at the time like, hey, this is great, you can do a variety of stuff and be flexible, but the reality is we realized that other people were just entering whatever they wanted to generate whatever kind of report. So I'll have to confirm our status of what our basic report is. Valerie is maybe in the background and she might be able to chime in on that.
Yeah, I can. So we do an option that if you choose is also our printer. You can print, and it's like a little pocket printer that you would it, and it looks like a receipt, and it does show all of your measurements. It's not a customer-facing report. It's more of just a report for technicians and owners and those who understand what they're seeing. That you can print to for free after you pay for the printer. So there is that option.
Yeah, it looks like a really super long receipt that you would get from a grocery store, but all that information is there. It's all printed out. Some people do that and they just add it to their file or attach it to the system, the indoor air handler. So those are some options. Okay, moving forward. Okay, so these are some additional features that are in measureQuick. All right. I'm going to bypass doing individual slides on them. I'm just going to talk about them briefly. So benchmarking is a fundamental, I don't know what to call it, a fundamental part of measureQuick, that it aren't many systems that allow you to do anything like that. Because what we do when we benchmark it is we go through and we basically create a profile of what's going on. We're capturing the superheat, subcooling, the static pressures, the airflow, everything about this system is then benchmarked and locked in. knowing that when somebody comes back, they can actually determine that it was benchmarked and actually makes assessments as to it's still operating in the benchmark. It's a crucial feature that you get. And again, this is one of the features you need when you unlock the system, right? You can also stream live measurements from anybody to anyone else. Usually it's instantly within the company, but if you need to do it to your distributor or somebody outside of the company, that can be done. They just need to have measureQuick on their device or have an account. So that's also there. You can see we have CMN integration with Service Titan, House Call Pro. We're always trying to see if there's somebody else that's a great fit for us. So if there's something that you're using regularly, you're welcome to reach out to us to see if that's a fit for the us and them. And one of the things that's happened recently is we now have a great integration with ACA, the Air Conditioning Contractors of America. You can now create their certificate of compliance directly in measureQuick, and it can actually pop up that you actually qualify for this, and you can use your existing qubits to do that. There's a variety of levels that are in there. There's also information you can put in Virtuoso to get the highest level of ACA compliance. So it's the newest integration we've got. And we also work well with the digital TrueFlow grid and the BlueVac system. These are all things that are integrated directly into measureQuick and can be included in your reports. So we are constantly moving to try to fix the conditions that are there. So
One
I
more
try
question
to
on
go ahead.
report.
Sure.
On can we email the report to our company and or customer?
Yeah, so it's basically you're opening a PDF in your device, and then there's a share button, usually at the top that you can share with anybody. So if somebody's not home, you could share it with any of your clients instantly. They can get that. Okay, so these are some of the premier features that you talk about when we unlock a system. I mentioned this a couple of times that you get the vital score and the reports that go along with that. Live streaming, benchmarking. Test tracker is when you're actually able to stream to anybody and you can see it on your device. So you may have one technician streaming information about their conditions in the field, and another technician in the field can actually open up use their actual iPad or phone and see these conditions directly from company that are all in the same company, or you can share it, like I said, to somebody else. You can customize your reports and access a variety of your data forever. All these things are included in just the what it costs to do and unlock a system, right? And you have the CRM integrations that are all there. Right? So this is a common question we get. We'll answer as many questions as you need to make sure it's clear. So basic access is free. You can download the app and you can connect your tools. You can get target zones and information that I'll show you in the app, right? There's some quick test capabilities and performance metrics that come out of just free, right? We no longer are allowing screenshots because, to be blunt, we were being kind of abused, and people were just really taking advantage of that condition that they were not paying for our services and were not allowing us to reinvest in what we're trying to provide for the industry. So we had to turn that off or just allow you to pay for it. If you want, you can take all the screenshots you want once you open up Premier Services. So some people don't actually do PDFs; they actually just take screenshots, and that's okay once you've actually unlocked your project. Okay. So our Premier Services, it costs $5 per system for a whole year, meaning that it's 5 qubits and you unlock the system. A system is either the furnace or the air handler and the outside condenser. That's one system. And once you unlock it, you can come back the next day, every day you want for a whole year to access it. You can access all of the information on Virtuoso and download all that information or generate reports. If you come back 5 years later and you're like, oh, it's asking you to unlock it, we don't charge you the time in between. We're only going to charge you that you now need to unlock that system again. It's an additional $5 to access all the information that you've already saved on that system. So you can see a variety of information that's here about that. Um, to me, you're going to find quickly how the advantages that unlocking and doing Premier Services with this high level of not just data, but also the ability to generate reports that are stunning for your clients and show them what you're able to do. Like right now, you've got a D minus. We think we can improve the conditions. Here's what we're going to do, and there's a high probability that if you follow the conditions we found and you see that you're going to be able to move that up from a D to another letter grade. I never promise anything, and I encourage you not to either. So what's a qubit? So that's a common question we get also. And the reason that we use qubits is because Apple and Android take 30% of any money that you would put into your Apple or Android or Google account. So that doesn't work for us, but it does work for them. So instead, we created something that's more like a recurring gift card. So you just have an account that you keep putting money on. Any money that's in your account, all of your technicians have access to use it. So anybody can go to a job and unlock that job and spend 5 qubits on that. What you want to make sure is they understand how to not do that when they don't need to. Meaning, if they go back to a job that's already existing, you can open up an existing job and do not need to pay $5. You've already paid it. So you just want to open up that existing job and continue whatever services you need to do on that. So again, they're available for a whole year. And again, it's 5 qubits per system per year. If you have questions about that, throw those out. Ben can help answer those in the background. We do have a minimum of $20 in your account just to begin to do that. And that's at $5 each. That's 4 tests right there. So you can put money on in a variety of ways and then have it reoccurring. So some people put in whatever amount and then hit a reoccurring button, and it actually goes back to their credit card or however they're trying to pay for it directly from their system. So we found that this allows the flexibility that you need to not paying for a technician who's not using it, or companies have a high cost for this. We don't have that. Pay as you use it, and you'll find out that the benefits are majorly rewarding. So we had several testimonials. We encouraged to get some from you. That this was actually almost 2 years ago now, in the summer, from June to August. And the stuff in blue is from June to August a year later. This was the company of a small company, 11 technicians, and they added Service Titan, means everybody got a iPad. There was one older gentleman who really wasn't savvy about wanting to do this, kind of complained about it and realized that that's what his life now is. So he clearly had to understand Service Titan and realized that he was going to learn measureQuick on his own, and surprised everybody by, you can see his total sales almost doubled. His conversion rate went up. His average ticket is really where measureQuick thrives. We find more stuff than an average, any technician, no matter how great you are. Chances are we will find more things that you could, not just visually, but also through diagnostics. So you can see that his options went up from 2+ to 3+. So this is where the $5 per system becomes something that's not even thought about for some companies like this. It's just a no-brainer that you will usually regain that instantly. The tools you're going to invest in will also be able to be regained instantly.
Joe, we've got a couple
Okay.
questions.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so the first one is that, is there a possibility that Service Fusion would kind of be integrated?
That is a question that we always try to determine. I'm assuming that's a CRM. Yeah. So we always look at those things. We're trying to figure out how well that works. Sometimes it is a struggle for them to work with us, or us to be able to make sure we got the right information. So I'm sure Valerie made a note of that in the background. So we're going to do, we have another webinar today, later tonight and tomorrow. We're going to take all the questions that were not able to be answered easily here and throw those into a document to send back out to people as to, well, yes, we're looking into it, or currently it's not an option. So we'll try to make sure that we respond with all the questions from all the webinars at one time.
Another question for you is, this one's from Aaron, which is, how do I make sure we don't pay twice for the same customer in the same year? Will measureQuick notify me of my location?
That we do. And you just need to make sure your technicians understand what they're doing when they go to start a job and either start a new location, or add new equipment, or access existing equipment. So it is really up to your technician to make sure that they are following the prompts that we're putting in front of them. We're very clear in trying to make sure that they understand that this is in bold for a reason. We're trying to help you as a technician not waste your company's money. So that is definitely something that we do.
And one more from Matt, which is, are measureQuick users having success with diagnosing failures with systems, diagnosing failures on systems that were not benchmarked or cannot be recommissioned?
So the only time you'd really benchmark something is really the best is at an install, where you actually were in total control of the entire system and able to confirm that right now this is the best it could possibly be, even if you have duct issues, right? So that's the best time to benchmark it. If you did a service call and found out that this actually system was 100% or really close, or I realized that there's not a lot of issues here, then I would also benchmark it. What I don't do is a process. Jim and I debate this. Is I got a system that's not doing well, and I benchmark it, because when somebody comes behind me, those benchmarks are now the criteria for which it's determining whether it's working well. So somebody else may have serviced it, or something else may have changed, and I try to only benchmark something when I know that the system is at the best possible that it could be operating at that time. I think there was another question in that. Nope, did
No,
I
I
get it?
think, I
Okay.
think it's good. Like, if they follow up,
Okay.
then I'll let you know. But the poll is opened, and it is basically select as many as are applicable to you. We got about 8 of you who've answered. But yeah, we're just looking for feedback on kind of like, what do you need? Is it training? Is it connecting your CRM tools? How to set up company accounts, more information about qubits. So just any kind of help you need, we want to be able to help you with that.
If there's something not on that poll, don't hesitate to throw it in the Q&A. This is something you're looking for.
Got another question about benchmarking versus test out.
So yeah, so when you let's go through the concept here. When I test in, because I can't test out, so I test in. So when I do my vital score, that is actually my test in. So I assess the system. This is not a service call, because if you're doing an install, you don't need to do a test in and test out. You can just do one test, call it test in, because it's your first one, and you're done. You've captured that information and benchmarked it before you did that. For a service call, I have conditions that I want to talk to my client about. So I test in, show them my vital score, find out the information that I also visually have about that, give them their quote, and tell them what we want to do. At that point, they decide, yes, I want you to fix it, or they don't. That means you'll probably end up coming back, because they'll have somebody else realize they didn't want to use them because we saw what you did in your reports. But when you have to come back, you already have all that information. If you're there and they say, hey, let's fix it, then what I can do is fix all that information. Once I've got it to the best they can operate, I can see my score, and then I would do a test out, right? So the difference between a test out and benchmarking is I could benchmark it, and that's going to capture its, like I say, its personality, a variety of those conditions. And then from then on, all that information is saved for the next user, the next technician, or you that come back out. I can see those parameters and see where it was, and see if my needle is actually on my main gauges. Is it still in the right spot, or this system is not actually operating the same? Maybe I need to unbenchmark it and do diagnostics and re-benchmark it. So benchmarking is only really trying to capture all of the conditions. I don't really do that when I do test out. Test out is like, okay, here's your snapshot. Here's where you are right now. Here's all your readings. Here's all the information. Here's your score. And that's kind of the difference between test out versus benchmarking.
Thanks, Joe. We've got a hand up, so I'm going to let Matt talk here. So Matt, you can you'll be given that permission, and you might have to unmute your microphone. And in the meantime, I'll close the poll and
got it. I'm going to transition to a live feed here.
Matt, are you with us? Well, Matt's trying to figure that out. The results of the polls that most people, over half of everyone, needs a little bit more training. Got a couple people that are ready to go. Person that needs an account tutorials, somebody who needs help with qubits, connecting their CRM. There's 2 people here. One person that just needs a little bit more guidance on tools, and then a couple other, 4 other people that need a different type of support.
We will be following up with you over the next few days to find out what it is specifically we can do to help you. We do have an LMS. We have a variety of information that's available in the background. So we'll figure out a way to send something out that's maybe more a little generic, or if there's something you ask for specifically, we can respond to you directly on that. So you can see my screen changed. Yeah, go ahead.
Matt, did you figure out your microphone? All right. Well, if you could throw your question into the Q&A, and we'll try to make sure it's answered.
Okay, so I transitioned over. Thanks for you are staying. So our hour's up. That kind of gave our overview, and now I'm gonna do a quick live demo so you can see some of the information that's there. So on the left side is actually a different PowerPoint that's just kind of turned vertically, right? And what I want to do is show some information about it, how to move through the app and some information that's there. So on the right side of your screen, you can see this is my iPad. So I'm actually using my iPad and displaying it here. So you can see this is our start screen or main screen. All of these may look different from what your app looks like. Usually it's about the same, but in general, these could all be rearranged and changed or reordered. You can also make these company-wide settings. Some people always depend on the map. We try to make sure the map is at the top. It can tell me that I've been at this job before. So right now I'm standing at this address. It is actually my house. And the blue dot's where I'm at. And the red icon means there's a system that's already been assessed here. So I can be like, okay, I'm at the right house. And I either can assess this same system, right? It's the first floor Goodman, right? Or I'm not exactly the right house. My geolocation is a little off, and I can move over to the neighbor's spot and say I'm going to do a new install there, but I can see I did my neighbor's. To clarify, you can only see the jobs that are in your company. You cannot see all of the measureQuicks that's out there. So whatever your company has done, you may see that. And if you're lucky, you've got pins on all the houses that are all around where you're at. So you want to make sure those pins are identified correctly as to where that unit is. That red pin is where that AC condenser is outside. The dispatch test is where you get your dispatch test from either House Call Pro or Service Titan or even Virtuoso can dispatch tests to your technicians in the field, making their job a little easier, right? The next one is tasks. I can just hit start testing and go through some process. And since I've been here before, I'll show you the options that come up. We mentioned Test Tracker a minute ago, and you could see if somebody's sharing any of their jobs in my company, I could see what those are and help somebody out. There's a variety of other support information that's in here from quick test to cloud or whatever. And again, I can rearrange this or even hide some information if I didn't want my technicians to be distracted by some of those conditions that are there. So I can actually, if I'm using Service Titan or House Call Pro, you always need to use the dispatch test that you give your technician, because otherwise you will not be able to connect that job back to Service Titan or House Call Pro. It's crucial if you're using either of those CRMs that you always start with a dispatch test. If your technician doesn't have a dispatch test, you need to get on the phone and make sure you figure out a way to get that operating, because otherwise you could do an entire test in measureQuick and find out why is it not in Service Titan or House Call Pro. It's because they didn't start on a dispatch test that was sent to them. It's the only way that the two of them can communicate and send stuff back to Service Titan from measureQuick is if you started that job in a dispatch test. Since I don't have Service Titan and I'm using something that's either a third party or I use Virtuoso, I have the option of either hitting start testing down here. You can see my finger with the blue button, or I can even click on the map and start testing that job or that actual equipment. I'm going to hit start testing so you can see the options that happen. If somebody asked about how do I make sure I'm not wasting money on this. So I'm going to do a service call in this house because I've been there before. All right. So, and we saw these are the different options that I had earlier about what type of workflows I have. Okay. So you can see their heat pump service. And here's the indicator. You need to make sure your technicians pause right now to do that. So I may be at the neighbor's house and I need to create a new site and make sure I have that right information. Or I've been here right now and I can add or select equipment. All right. So I may want to come back and service this first floor Goodman unit. That's why I'm here. Or maybe they're adding a second unit to the second floor. So then I'm going to say add a system to the local site. Or I'm going to create a new site because that's not the unit that I want to service, or it's not the job location I need to be. This is where you save somebody from wasting $5 because if they're going to service that Goodman unit, they click on that Goodman unit. And I can show you what that looks like. I'm going to click on create a new site just so you can see what actually happens from scratch. Okay, so that's the difference right here. So if I can create a new site for the system, so it's starting everything up. I have a little air conditioner that I have in my next room, so that's why I have some live readings. Okay, there's a variety of stuff that's here. So I will kind of give you a quick overview of what's happening on the screen. All right, what's happening on the left are indicators. It's everywhere where you can interact and touch and measure quick. All right, so it looks like a great display. It's a beautiful display. but everything is actually able to be touched and changed. So at the bottom here, you can see that I've got different icons that take me to different pages. And there's an icon here to tell you that you've got 2 pages on the outdoor system. All right. So I can actually click on the outdoor a couple of times and it's changing. You saw that in the very beginning where I showed you all the readings that are dynamic. Same with the indoor. I actually have 2 pages of indoor system and units that are reading from my probes I've got in the next room. There's a variety of electrical and performance data that's here. I didn't capture electrical yet, so I don't have a SEER or EER. And there's weather data, which also includes your altitude. Your altitude will determine your standard CFM that's actually being captured from the actual numbers that are there. And here's my information, which is part of the profile that's there. All right. I can swipe across. All right. And there's some buttons on the outside that work well when you have gloves on. I can move across the system. All right. Any one of these I can actually click on. So notice that my subcooling is in the red, right? And I can click on it and it's giving me information. Right now, that little system is reading at 27.4, my current value. My design target was 10, and that's based upon the profile. So if I go in and change my profile, that would actually also change. And it's plus or minus 3 degrees for your ideal range. Down below, you can see that I've got information about high subcooling. And if you really want to learn more, I can actually exit out and go to Brian Orr's HVAC school right here, right now, and scroll down. And what should my subcooling be? This is awesome for newer technicians or people that are learning in the industry, that they can actually learn more about this before they call in or do a kind of a quick overview. You can also use measureQuick without having probes connected and get this kind of information. So there are a variety of ways to use this as a learning tool. So I wanted to make sure you understood I can tap on a variety of areas to get information. Okay. So again, I have center of glide, dew point, and pressure, right? And there are other places where I can go. I can go back. I can use the feature we came out with a year ago. It's called the hot button or the hot key or the plus button, whatever you want to identify. And it gives me some quick access to information and processes that I want to use, right? So if I need to access my settings or my tools or the camera, I'm moving up on the right side. There's performance information and corrective actions. Those are all there that I can just click on something quickly and go to those and access it without trying to go through the workflow or other options. The one on the question mark on the very far left is actually takes you out to our website where you can actually use our support page to ask questions about other information you're looking for. So that's some basic information. So I'll kind of go through a quick overview. So if somebody calls in, you can dispatch the test through any of the varieties of ways you may do it from either a CRM or Virtuoso, and I can dispatch the test to anybody who's actually out in the field. I'll address the connectivity challenge. So the only thing that you would need for a variety of stuff is that they need internet access to get the new job, right? So if you are in an area that is very rural and you cannot have good internet access, if they start their job in the dispatch test when they're in a good area, there's actually a little feature where you can hit a little small button in the cloud and save it to the device, and then they can drive away into the middle of the country, do the entire test, and when they come back in, they can go into their app or their device and upload that. So there is the ability. You do not need internet in order to do all the features that measureQuick has. You just need Bluetooth, which is a small connectivity that's directly connecting to your probes. So internet's not a requirement. You can work around that depending on the device and make sure your technicians are trained on what to do afterwards. So we're on site. We've got a variety of tools that we're going to use. measureQuick is now just as equal as any of the other screwdrivers or tools that you've got. This is a quick guide. We did send out our resource guide that is one of the documents. In that is the quick guides and a variety of resources about probes and a variety of information that's in there. So we already went through how to select a job, and now we're into Premier features. So you can see that I've got this right now asking me to unlock this. You can see that I'm on a system right now and I don't need to unlock it, okay? I can actually see what are my readings based upon this system as it is right now, and I can even do some diagnostics, right? Haven't given $5 to anybody yet, and I can now determine what it is. We eliminated the screenshots because this is where people were just going in, grabbing screenshots and not actually using the features that we had. So if I unlock this, now I can generate reports and get a score out of the diagnostics that I have. So I'm going to unlock this system. It's going to ask me, do I want to confirm that? And again, remember, this wasn't the existing system. This was a new job that I just started. That's why I need to unlock it. If I come back to this job, then I actually have the ability to reevaluate this and reuse it, redo this system multiple times as I want, and it does not cost anything at all. So it's already on the, so you can see my gauges here in the middle, right? And on the left side, and you can actually rearrange a variety of stuff to how you work right-handed or left-handed. There's a variety of information that's here. So I've already got diagnostics that are happening. It's waiting for a score, but it's telling me that I don't have a year installed. I don't have filter information. So I need to do a few things that are part of my profile in order to get my score. So your score is based on the profile and some basic information that's there. So one of the things it's asking for is for me to, I'll do my profile now. You can see what that looks like. So I could take a picture of my data plate, and again, that's saved forever, right? And it's asking me, is it a split system? Is it a scroll? Year installed? I can say it's 2019. Make, model, serial number. There is a way to actually do this where I'm actually able to see a data plate, and usually they have a QR code. Many of them we can actually just scan and grab that information. So it is something that's out there. I was trying to find the slide, I missed it. So if not, you can just enter the information quickly. This does not come from any other process. This is still something either scanned on site or entered manually. So we'll just say it's a York, and my make, model, serial number. We'll just give it some information just so we can move through, and we'll just say that's what it is. I need to do my tonnage. So this is a pretty small unit that's next to me, so it's probably only about 0.7. Its SEER is probably an older unit, so I'm saying it's a less of a SEER. And although I'm going to leave TXV, it's asking me for what kind of metering device is it. So it is a fixed device. I'm going to leave it as a piston because it's going to give me some good information as for the demo. And if my superheater subcooling is not the default or my static is different, then I can change any of that. You can also go in and profile the heating system right now. The heating system requires a lot more information than my cooling does. So be prepared. It'll take you several minutes to get all that information off the data plate and off the information that's on the furnace if you're going to do that now. So I hit continue. Now I actually have, notice my needle slightly shifted over here on the top because it's based upon the size of my system and giving me that information. So currently I've actually got a score, all right? So I've lost 4 points. I'm over here on the score right here. I lost 4 points to the age, right? And I have a temperature split issue, and I've got the refrigerant loss issue. So even without going any further, I could actually determine, I have some diagnostics. I don't need to fix anything for free for my client. So I can actually go through and realize these are some of my issues. I'm going to do my visual assessment. So as I go through the house, I've unlocked it and captured pictures of my thermostat and corrective action. So what that looks like is I grab pictures and I can take a picture of the thermostat, right? And now that's saved in the system. It's also, you'll see a little icon here at the cloud is uploading, and you'll see a check mark here in a couple seconds, meaning it is uploaded to measureQuick, right? There's also other pictures that I could take that are, we got out of order here, sorry. So I also usually take pictures of my probes, which we talked about where those went. So it's a good thing to do. I'll go to my indoor system and I'll take pictures of the probes. The reason you're doing that is so you can confirm that the probes were in the right location. Some of this information you can see live while it's actually happening, and other stuff I can actually go back and see the pictures and be like, I don't think your numbers are right because your probes weren't in the right locations.
Joe,
reminding you, yes, go ahead.
Sorry, got a question, which is, does it make much of a difference of which fixed metering device we choose, capillary or piston?
It does, because we actually are using that as a profile to determining how well your system is operating. So those are some technical questions that are beyond mine or Ben's or Valerie's scope in general. That's kind of we throw that kind of stuff up to Jim, but that, I guess it depends on what type of system it is. You either know it's a cap tube or it's a piston system, and then we do diagnostics based upon that. Okay, so let me go kind of move through a few other things that we've got here. So what I can do, take a lot of pictures and do a lot of diagnostics and corrective actions as I go through, right? So the corrective actions are here at the top, and they're basically asking you to just kind of pick a few things. Like I verified the setback, I repaired and tightened connections. I replaced a start capacitor. You can pick multiple things that are there, and these are saved with this job. So if somebody comes back, they can see what other technicians had done. So they repaired the supply air leaks or adjusted dampers. So I'm going to just pick a few things that are on that list. And we have this list actually as a document to send out for support. So you can see these as a printed document is also a thing to add. So I say, okay, I did a few of those conditions and I've got those. I've went through a variety of the systems that are there. So I'm doing my visual, grabbing pictures, doing corrective actions as I go. I'm outside doing the same stuff. I now have things that are inside and outside that I kept track of for my photos, and have issues that are outside. I now deployed my outside probes and can take pictures of those. And again, these are the outside probes. Using the discharge line is an optional. You can see that it's installed here in the picture on the bottom left. All right, so I did all of my information here. So what I can do is I'll go back and show you that so that's here. I can show you what happens if I have my system, and I can do a literally just click on the little icon here, and it's actually going to give me a scanning code. You can see my messy desk. And notice that it just entered all that information automatically. So now it's called the Goodman, give me all my make, model, serial number. I'd say it probably works on about half of the industry. So if you've got something you're working with that doesn't scan, help us by sending us some good, clear pictures, and we can see if we can't integrate that into our library that we have here. Based on what I've got here, I'm trying to look for cooling diagnostics is here. I'm waiting for a system to be unstable. I can click on unstable and clear my conditions and see my issues that are there. So even though it's unstable, I can see my problems, right? One of the things I'm looking for is my filter size in order to get my score. So for a filter, I can literally just enter the size of the unit with drop downs. 25 and 1 inch. And if I change it, change the date, change the filter, I can just select that. And it's a matter of drop down to determine what type of system or filter I'm using. So something from generic to a MERV 8, I just literally collecting it and saying continue at the bottom. I've got a score and I know enough information to create a quote. So I'm going to do my test in as a service call. So what this does is going to generate my report that I now can show to the client, right? So I can see my diagnostics are listed here. In fact, not all of them are there. We didn't do a subsystem review, and here's the breakdown that I show my client. This would be added to the information that you saw as part of your visual inspection about the filter and the condensate drain and conditions around the outside unit. All that's part of your quote that you've got, and this is trying to show you where your information is coming from and where it is in the score. So this is a great feature that allows your technicians to now communicate the issues that they've seen in that. So you can see that you can do branding in the upper corner here. So that's actually be your logo, and that's your technician's logo. That's actually my dog. So, and I can share this at the time. I can go up here, I can hit the share button and share that as an email to anybody who's not at the job at the time. At this point, I'm now going to fix the system and improve the score and do all the things that I had as a challenge. The only thing I cannot fix is the age. No matter what I do, the best I could make this system is the 96 because I'm losing 4 points for the age. Other than that, I can probably figure out what is the refrigerant charge loss, my temperature split. I encourage you to make sure that if you don't think it's an issue in the system, then you need to check your probes. Sometimes your probes are in the wrong location or they weren't inside the supply register. All of these things allow us to generate that. Just for practical purposes, I'm going to show you that I could benchmark this system, and it's saying that it's under duress, meaning that you clearly have issues from temperature split and refrigerant loss, and I can say I will benchmark under duress. So it's benchmarked, and you can see that the icon changed. It's now got a yellow fingerprint, and as I scroll across, I can now see the issues with the yellow icon next to superheat and subcool, and my approach was off. Somebody asked about approach earlier. If I click on approach, here's what it's given me, that my current value is 0. I have a design target, and at the bottom, it's telling me what approach is. Low approach. Approach is the difference between temperature and the liquid line and the outdoor temperature is a basic way to summarize that. So again, a lot of information you're looking for is built into the app. I could go out to HVAC school and also get that information and what they have about it. So let's assume that I brought this up to a much better system, and I can scroll down to the bottom. There's still a few other features that are difficult to do in this one webinar, but I can now go and, oh, somebody asked about report settings. I will show you what those are quickly. Under report settings, I can include the BlueVac report if I did that, include the cover page, indicators that are telling me whether things are going up or down or at the readings that they should be, how many photos per page. Do I want the include the picture profile, company logo? All those are included in how I would want to customize that. So I save my settings, and I can now do a test out. I dismissed the subsystem review for time's sake, but it actually goes through and makes sure there wasn't something you missed. It gives you confirmation about your readings, as well as other visual conditions that you want to make sure were acceptable. I'm going to generate a report. Here's the list of the reports that you can do. So I could do the vitals only. I showed you that a second ago, or I can do only photos, or email the PDF from right here, or also I can print to my MQ printer. That was the printer we talked about before. And I'm going to generate the MQ Pro report. So here's my cover letter with my my logo and my technician's picture. Here's my test in. At the top, you can see it says test in. So that's my test in vitals. And that's the information I got the first time. And here's my test out, which should have been better, but we're about time. We didn't have a chance to fix anything. It was benchmarked under duress. You can see down here that it was benchmarked and it was stable when it was benchmarked, right? You can see there's a variety of conditions that are here, from the type of system it is under weather and system info. My indoor measurements are coming from probes and whether or not they were stable or they're trending up and down. My performance calculations are right here. Down below, this is the test out information and the score. And you can see here's all my readings from my test out. And here's my comparison. So hopefully your test score in and test score out have actually improved more than 1%. But I have my system profile, that's information. Remember, I clicked on those little buttons for corrective measures. Those are all documented right here also. So I actually have all that information. And then I've got a few photos that are in here as the project photos. And all the others are basically a disclaimer about how our report is generated. So this, when I go ahead and done, it'll be can save to Service Titan and save to HouseCall Pro as an add-on PDF, and it's saved automatically in measureQuick. So I can access this at multiple times. Notice that my indicators here at the top had tightened up when I benchmarked this system. So if I come back and my needle is no longer in the middle where this system was benchmarked, I know this is not actually operating at the benchmark itself. So there's a variety of details to go more into about benchmarking, but last thing I can do is you want to make sure, a lot of technicians forget this one simple step, but it's in our quick guide, is you must exit. A lot of people just think, hey, I'm good, and they throw their tablet in their bag and off they go. So if I don't exit and sync to the cloud, a lot of information is not saved at the end, and it's difficult to come back to it. So if you show up at your next job and you're still in this test, you got to exit in order to go to the next one. So exit and sync to the cloud is always what you're after. That is a very basic overview of what we have for you guys. I'm sure there are lots of questions that may be too complicated here, but you let us know what it is we need to do to follow up with you.
So we're going to see if Matt's have the ability to speak here one last time. Matt, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
All right. So thanks for your persistence. Hey, so I had talked to Jim Bergman. I apologize for my dogs. I talked to Jim Bergman a couple years ago, and I know that you guys were using this platform with utility companies, municipalities, and things like that, where it was essentially a lot of non-invasive testing, but those were systems that were previously benchmarked. So I'm the guy that was asking about the success rate of, diagnosing systems that weren't benchmarked. So if I'm not EPA certified, or I'm a mechanical engineer that has the ins and the outs, or I'm doing expert witness work, which I know you guys have a lot of people that do expert witness work using this platform, and I don't have the luxury of gauging up, I'm not certified, and I can only go non-invasive. Would you still think that there's a good level of success getting close to diagnosing failures and root cause issues? And that was where I was going with that question.
Yeah. I got your question. I couldn't able to digest it, but thanks for clarifying it. So I have done non-invasive tests and realized that I was not confident in the results. I don't want to mislead you, thinking, oh yeah, you can just do temperatures and you'll be fine, because sometimes it could be misleading or give you information that you really should have probed up to confirm what the pressures were. So they can be an indicator, but I still strongly believe that it also is your visual assessment that confirms if you feel that everything is in this range. We no longer allow the score in that mode. So if you're doing non-invasive, we've eliminated it. Even though when to be upfront, if you generate your report, it's still there, but that's going to disappear soon. That we don't want you to generate a score without having all 9 probes is our philosophy. So
Sure.
right
So
now, you don't. Yeah.
you can clamp up and you can get all the information and you can get pretty close, and it's probably going to be better than what you'd get from somebody who's out there who's inexperienced, just breaking stuff. But you guys aren't gonna you're not going to be on the hook for any kind of a score that you would have if you were up working on a benchmark system.
That's correct. So even if you had a benchmark system and you use non-invasive, you still don't get a score. We just felt that you needed to have all 9 probes to get a score, right? That was kind of we realized that was a mistake in the beginning, because we thought it was good information, but really it's either it's all or nothing. So, and the reason is some people could cheat the system, or other people just didn't know that they didn't have accurate information. But you're right. Doing non-invasive is better than nothing. It's given me a variety of information that I can make some determinations about the system, and combined with your visual assessment, probably gives you a lot of information that other technicians were still missing.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Matt. All right, we have a few minutes left for other questions or things that we missed or I could add to the process.
Another question is, this is from John, which is, I have some buildings that have sensors for supply air temp and return air temp. Can these temps be added, or does it have to be a Bluetooth sensor?
It has to be a Bluetooth sensor that works with measureQuick, just to clarify that. So the reason that we're very specific about who we use is because they have a plus or minus tolerance. They have some accuracy requirements or a basic calibration methodology. That's why we're focused on not using anything that's a Bluetooth device to try to give us measurements that we need to be highly accurate. So you're right, there are out there, and if you're looking for more information about Smart AC, which we've integrated with measureQuick, Ben is the key person to follow up with that. So if you're looking for Smart AC information, reach out to Ben at measureQuick, and he can clearly do that. So those are also giving us information about a temperature split and a variety of information, but it's not the accuracy that we want to make a high level diagnostics.
Okay, well, I threw in a final poll, which basically was just checking in with people to see if they have if this kind of covered what they wanted. So most people, this is what we wanted to do, and we still got a couple that need some extra questions. So like Joe said, I think there's a lot of great opportunity for follow up here, because measureQuick is there's a lot going on.
So we do have this webinar scheduled for later today and tomorrow morning, crack of dawn. It's the same webinar, just to make sure you're not thinking that there might be different information. So the slide deck and everything will pretty much be the same. So, but what I can do is that, and we also have another technical support specialist who can get on a Zoom type call with you and your technicians, or multiple times, or do a meeting in the morning with to kind of go through small snippets at a time to try and get your team on board in whatever way we can. So there's a variety of documents that we've had you can print out. I'm working on new workflows that are kind of beta, that if you're interested, reach out to me to see what those look like, or looking for more feedback. But our goal is that whatever you need as support, we're there to do that. So it's not uncommon that I'm on a call with a company in the morning just for 20-30 minutes, either answer questions or talk about features or see if there's something they're missing in measureQuick. So that's something we can do. It's free of charge. It's no problem to provide training for your team and answer questions in the morning. So we just hope that you're using qubits to make that value even more profitable.
Cool. And
Valerie, anything else? Yeah, Valerie, anything else you wanted to add?
No. Good job, Joe.
Cool. One more question just got snuck in at the end, which is
Sure.
John asked to get a basic assessment. Can you use the line pressures and line temps?
No, the only thing it's going to give you is a temperature split. So that's a minimal of information that's there. So yeah, I mean, our focus is all 9 probes on active reading, and the system is on, is our fundamental requirement. So and you could see that, the little bit of information only could lead to improper diagnostics.
Awesome. Looks like it answered it.
Well, I want to say thanks for everybody who joined this, and thanks for Ben and Val for being the support on the back end. This is only the beginning of the things we're going to do. So I'm sure in a few weeks we'll actually have something that's more of a. I'm at the middle of my process. How can I make measureQuick be better for my team? And we'll probably do one that's more about advanced features in measureQuick. So whatever level you're at, look for some additional webinars to try to move you to the next level. And get you on board, and don't hesitate to reach out to figure out what it is we can do to help you and your team.
And I want to double down on that is that if you like the other questions that you have outstanding or curiosities that you have about, measureQuick or any advanced things, if you send over those questions, that'll greatly amplify the probability that we will cover those in an advanced class. And so we need to know what it is you're interested in. So please send those questions over to Joe.
That's joe@measureQuick.com. All right, it's 9:30. Our time has elapsed. Again, you guys have a great day wherever you're at. We appreciate your time. Take care.